And we are live once again. Welcome aboard Concrete Contractors. This is Danny Barrera, your host of your Concrete Success podcast. And if you're here with us today, I'm going to be sharing 5 lessons learned after launching a podcast for Concrete Contractors. 5 lessons. And yesterday, as I was going through our episodes, I said that we had 11 episodes, but actually yesterday's episode made it our 13th episode, and this has happened in about a matter of 2 weeks and a half, give or take. So I'm only recording this Monday through Friday, and the way we're working these episodes out, I'm gonna be sharing some of the insights and some of the story behind how we're putting together your Concrete Success podcast and what it really is. But if you have not checked out our site, you can go to your Concrete Success podcast. Just Google that on Google. Just go to Google, type your Concrete Success podcast. We're now on Amazon. We're now on Audible. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. So we're really excited about that. But your Concrete Success podcast is a podcast dedicated to sharing success stories, business tips, and marketing strategies for flat work and decorative concrete contractors. And I am the author of the Internet Marketing for Concrete Contractors. If you have not gotten yourself a copy, you can go to concretemarketingcrew.com right now. Get yourself a copy. And we're in the middle of revamping our site, so it will look like this by the time that you download the new guide that we put together for you guys. But in the meantime, go ahead and look into concretemarketingcrew.com. So again, your Concrete Success podcast is for flat work and decorative concrete contractors alike. And in today's episode, I'm talking about 5 lessons learned after launching a podcast for concrete contractors. Number 1, let's start off with number 1, guys. Number 1 is having an outline has been the best thing that we've done. Like that, if there is one thing that we did right from the beginning, was having some sort of outline, a guideline that took me through the process. And I use notes. I think it's notes. Is it notes? Yeah, we use notes from synced up iCloud. So the notes are right here on my phone. If I need to check out my phone and I lose access to them, they're right here, right on my desktop, and I can look at them. So I don't have a prompter. I'm not reading off of a prompter, and I am not memorizing everything I'm going to say beforehand. I'm working towards getting better as every episode passes by at being present and just being grounded and understanding that there's an outline and respecting that. Now, if you go back to our first and second and third episodes, I was a little bit all over the place. But with that being said, there was still a lot of real content that I put together. It's like content that I just have in my mental library of strategies and things that we do for our clients, and I know that they work. So for me, it's easy to talk about those things. So it's kind of like that's the way I approach the first couple of episodes, and then I started focusing more in getting serious about looking at my notes. And if you use Evernote, I do recommend that you use something that's in the cloud. This way, if your team needs to make an edit, that can happen asynchronous. They don't need to be in the same place, and it can happen on the cloud. So it doesn't matter if you lose your phone or if you get a new computer or if you're on the road, you can just log into that specific location and look at your show notes and have an outline. So having an outline has been the thing that we've done right, and it's helped me tremendously stay on track. So my goal starting this whole podcast, I was actually waiting for the intro, the outro, and a couple of things to be finalized. And one of my mentors, Garrett J. White, he encouraged us during one of the lessons. He's like, hey guys, you got to go live. You got to go live right now. You got a message that your market is waiting to hear. And if you're not getting yourself out there, you're not putting yourself out there, the market is just waiting for you to show up and to say what you need to say, and whoever's ready to listen at that moment, okay? It's just like the parable from the Bible. Whoever is ready for that specific message at that moment is going to receive it well. And that may be your right prospect. So it was sort of like a challenge. I took it like a challenge for myself to do one episode every day of the week for 1 month. And that's exactly what I did, like the day after or 2 days after. I said, you know what, guys, we had a meeting. You know what, we had a Monday meeting. And I said, we're going to launch the podcast this week. And it's going to start going live by Friday, whether I have the right equipment or not, whether we have everything figured out or not. And we had all of this research beforehand, which did help out. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But I just needed to get out there. So that's one thing. If you're in the middle of thinking about launching a podcast, I'm going to tell you guys, just get out there and just get it done. Work on an outline. You know, there's got to be some sort of guideline that you're following, or otherwise you're going to be a little bit all over the place. So for me, that was very helpful. So I'm glad that I just got this started, and I am getting better as I go along. So for whoever is listening and tuning in, I really want to say I appreciate you for listening in and tuning in. And I'm growing as I am doing this every day. I'm learning from the day before. So as I listen to yesterday's or the day before's podcast, which is actually a live stream, I actually go live on YouTube. And then what happens is YouTube syndicates broadcasts my video live. And then what we do is we take the audio from that live and turn it into a podcast. So we don't have the intro and the outro yet. That's coming up soon. But the goal is for us to have these things become assets for us that we can utilize in multiple ways. And they have already started to become assets for us. So let me just show you real quick, guys. We're not playing games here. So if we go to Google, Contractor podcast, and we just type that on Google, Concrete Contractor podcast, look who comes up, number 2 right here. Let me make this big so you guys can see this, right? You guys see this for whoever is watching this. Otherwise, you could just go ahead and Google Concrete Contractor podcast on Google, and you're going to see we come up right there on the feed from Google, the podcast feed from Google. We come up number 2, and we come up number 2 as a search result, and number 3, and number 5, and number 6, and number 7. Guys, out of 10 positions, we have quite a few positions. And then if you click on the first link there, your Concrete Success podcast is surely right here on this player FM. Okay, your Concrete Success podcast 1 day ago. Boom. There you go. We're right there on top of the list, guys. So there is a strategy behind this. I'll reveal and I'll share more of this as we go along. But for the sakes of today's episode, I wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. This has been something that's been a challenge for me to do it every day, because consistency does take work. But as I'm doing this more and more, I'm becoming better at it. Now, I want to share lesson number 2 here, which is it's one of those things that takes work. It takes work because you have to be absolutely present when you're doing these podcasts, whether you're doing it live or not live. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're present and you're grounded right there in the moment, and you have a message to say, you have something to say, you're able to speak clearly, you're able to concisely be able to bring whatever has been put in your heart or your knowledge and experience, and you can relay that in a way where the listener can have a takeaway. Right? Now, when I am not present, and that happened to me yesterday or the day before, I noticed that the amount of times that I was saying all the ums and all the pauses and all the weird stuff, man, it comes out. Man, I get exposed right there. So I'm exposing myself right there. But this is one area of improvement that I'm looking for improvement in myself. I'm working on proactively, which is to be present in the moment, present in the moment. To not only allow myself to be a vessel and convey a message, but to be able to connect with the listener on the other side. So whether you're the owner of a concrete company, you're starting out, you're the founder, you're a partner, you're a marketer, and you want to figure out how to properly position your concrete company among all the competition. And everything I've been sharing has been done intentionally, okay, to convey a real message and give you real strategies. Not going to give you any BS here. So, being present does take work. But I can tell you that's one thing, one area of improvement that, again, even before going live, I'm becoming more and more and more and more intentional about it. It's easier said than done. I'll tell you that. Number 3, okay, third lesson learned after launching a podcast for Concrete Contractors is data will tell you what people like. And we've been live for 2 weeks and change, but I can tell you there are a couple of episodes that tend to gravitate more listeners. And I don't know why. Like the ones that I thought would get more momentum and just get more listens just haven't. And that's one interesting thing, right? So this is what marketing is all about, is you got to treat things like a test and not get emotionally attached to anything, because otherwise you're going to be deceived. You're going to be, this whole emotional energy that you put into your creative work or your work as a whole, a lot of times it flops, guys. And so treating this like a test has helped me not feel like, well, this sucked, right? We only got 3 downloads on that, or we got 20 downloads on this other one that we didn't even think was going to get any downloads, or we got 50 downloads on this other one that, we did not even think that anyone was going to like this one. So all those things are very interesting to see as they roll out. And as we've been getting accepted into all these different channels of distribution, I'm talking about Apple Podcast, Stitcher, right? We've got Spotify. We got all these channels. Let me just, why am I even trying to think about where we're at? Let's go ahead and see it. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Acast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Deezer, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and all these other channels that pick up the distributions from all of these small pockets right here. We've been getting a lot more listens to certain episodes more than others. So data will come, later on. But this is something that we're not married to, and I am personally not married to. So as we're going into the end of the month, we're building out a plan that's going to help us support what's trending, because you want to know what's trending and what people want to listen to, right? So data will tell you what people like. That is a lesson that I am learning. So I'm doing this more, and it's just one of those things that don't get attached to creating your episodes, right? So you might have a big hit, or you might have a greatly produced episode, great content that no one listens to. All right. So that's been a lesson for me. So number 4, finding my voice has been harder, even with all the outlines. So finding my voice, this is a big one. Because guys, I'm going to tell you one thing. Like I've presented in front of dozens or hundreds of individuals. I'm okay getting in front of a stage, but getting on a podcast and just talking to a microphone and turning on a camera and going live, especially on YouTube. Here's the thing. It's harder than I guess it gets easier. My son, he is Daniel's prime time. He's a gamer and he likes to go live all the time, and for him it's very easy, and he's been giving me a lot of feedback, and my team has been listening into my podcast and they've been giving me feedback. But I can tell you one thing, I'm giving myself the opportunity to suck for 100 episodes. That's what I'm doing right here. It's if I'm going to suck for 100 episodes and I'm going to learn how to pronounce certain words better than others, I'm doing that. So at the end of the day, I want to grow from this experience, bring the best value that I can to you on the other side, and then develop my voice. Because I know the version of me that was producing at episode 1 versus episode 20 versus episode 50 versus episode 75 versus episode 100, it's going to be significantly different. And by that time, we'll have a much better sounding podcast. I'll just leave it right there. So finding my voice has been harder, even with all the outlines. And I'm not editing any of this live streams. I'm not editing any of these live streams. I'm literally taking the audio from the live stream on YouTube. I'm not cutting out any ums, any weird pauses, and I'm just going live. And that is something that goes against what everyone else is saying out there, guys. You know? So at the end of the day, point number 5 is a lesson. Is we're doing the complete opposite in a lot of areas of what everyone is saying to not do or to do. But even with that, we're treating this as a test, and it's giving us great results. It's giving us great results. So we're taking a multi-pronged approach to this. And I showed you guys our new website. It's still a work in progress. We're almost done with this one. But one of the areas that you're going to find is the podcast is going to be highlighted here. You probably are not going to see. Let me see. Make this a little bit bigger. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see the link to the podcast. Otherwise, if you're listening to this podcast, go ahead and visit our YouTube channel, Concrete Marketing Crew, and just look for 5 lessons learned after launching our podcast, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here as I'm presenting this episode. So podcast is going to be one of our sections here, and it's going to have the embed of the video that has gone live, a transcript or a summary, links to all those things. I mean, it's going to be hooked up real nice. So I am personally excited about what's to come for you guys, and this is going live next week. So before the end of May, for sure. So we're excited about that. I am excited. My team is excited about it. And my team has been nagging me about getting an intro and an outro. So we're working on that right now. So I'm doing all the complete opposite in a lot of areas. And I am seeing success. And I want to encourage you guys. I want to wrap it up by encouraging you guys that if you've been feeling like this is something that you should do for your business, go ahead and just do it. Take me as an example. With all the insecurities, with all the shortcomings, with all the different issues that I have pronouncing certain words, I'm going live. And I'm going live every day. And I'm going to continue doing this for as far as I can. And look, here's the thing, guys. I'm looking for that 100th episode. I'm not looking for what's happening right now. I'm looking for the 100. And this makes it our 14th podcast episode. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in and listening in. And it means the world to me that you've given me and invited me to your ears to listen to what I've got to say. And if you found this information helpful, I would love to hear from you. You can visit our YouTube channel and look for this video, 5 lessons learned after launching our podcast for concrete contractors, and go ahead and leave a comment. Otherwise, just subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Would mean the world to me. And I'll be in touch with you guys in the next episode. Until then, feel free to visit concretemarketingcrew.com if you have any questions. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.